Keep your hands to the sky. Keep your hands to the sky. Keep your hands as long as you fly. Your head to the sky. We're in the midst of sorrow. You can see her when looking down. Optimistic. Of a brighter day, tomorrow will bring. Oh, be optimistic. You hear the voice of reason. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. Welcome to another episode of Life with Shenita. I want to thank you all for joining us each and every week. I want to thank you all for the feedback, for the questions that you submit. I also would like to thank my guest this evening. I am tickled pink because I have three amazing people who will join me this evening to talk about Election 2020. The three individuals have been very pivotal in Clayton County, Georgia. They all have different respective positions and have been elected, and they are incumbents. So I am honored to have them join me tonight to talk about their journey, to talk about the election process and resources that are available from their respective areas, and so much more. So without delay, I am going to introduce and bring them in. First, we have Clayton County Board Chair Jesse Goree, Clayton County Public Schools. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome, and thank you so much for being here.
Camera.
There we go.
Yes.
Next, we have State Representative Sandra Givens Scott, District 76, House of Representatives for Georgia. Good evening.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Wonderful. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, and last but certainly not least, we have Tax Commissioner Terry Baskin with the Clayton County government. Welcome, Mr. Baskin.
Good evening, and thank you so much for the invitation.
Yes, I am so honored to have each and every one of you all here with me tonight. This is, really just a wonderful opportunity to kind of talk about not only the presidential election, but our local elections and positions. I started the month off in October for my birth month, talking about the importance of voting on a local level, not just national. So I'm honored to have three amazing individuals such as yourselves to join me tonight to kind of talk a little further. So I am going to allow you all to introduce yourselves. So I'm going to start out with our beautiful board chair for Clayton County Public Schools, and introduce yourself, Ms. Goree, however you'd like.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for allowing me to be a part of your program this evening. Yes, I don't generally introduce myself. I say I'm Jesse Goree, District 3, BOE. That's my little political mantra. But I am currently the chair of the Clayton County Board of Education. I've been a member since 2008. I am a native of Louisville, Kentucky, a proud graduate of Louisville Central High School, the school where the greatest attended, Muhammad Ali. I have two children. I have a daughter, Jessica, and a son, Isaiah, and I do have 5 grandchildren, 4 girls, and finally a boy. Kingston, the king is what we're calling him.
I love it.
I am a retiree. I retired from Clayton County Public Schools in 2008. I had worked in Atlanta Public Schools for 22 years and then transitioned to Clayton, worked there for about 9.5 years. Ended up running for the school board because Clayton was losing their accreditation, and my son was a senior at North Clayton High School. So I felt like that a lot of people wanted to come out and run, but it takes a special person to be on the Board of Education. And I felt like I couldn't make sure that we got that accreditation. I had to, have it in my own hands. So I have been a proud member of the school board since 2008. And currently I'm, as I say, the board chair. I have a little part-time job with the Clayton County Board of Commissioners. I work to pay for my Atlanta Falcons season tickets. And
I love it.
and yeah, gotta have a little, fun on the side, even though they're
That's
not
right.
doing their very best. But this has been quite a year. I will say the coronavirus. This has been a very stressful year, trying to educate students in a virtual setting. And I will say, within my personal life, I did get diagnosed with breast cancer last year. So not only have I been having a bit of stress with the school, but also my own personal journey. But God is good, and I am here. I'm a fighter, and He has seen me through. So I'm just going to stop there and let the rest of the guests introduce themselves.
Well, thank you so much. And you truly are an example of strength. I've watched your journey, and so I salute you, applaud you, and thank you for being so courageous and full of strength through this journey. So thank you for your service.
Okay.
And now we have State Representative Sandra Scott. Would you do us the honor of introducing yourself?
Yes, thank you again, Shenita, for having me this afternoon. I am State Representative Sandra G. Scott, serve District 76, which encompasses Clayton and parts of Henry County. I have been in the General Assembly. This is going on my 11th year. Before the General Assembly, I was on the Clayton County School Board, left the school board where they kicked me off. I left the school board and went right on into the General Assembly. I am originally from Tallahassee, Florida, by way of Havana, Florida. I'm a graduate of Florida A&M University, the Rattlers, and
All right.
University, HBCU, the best, the number one HBCU in the land. I joined the military, served 5 years in the military. While in the military, married my husband, Edward Scott. We have one son, Dexter, and I have a grandson, Lucas. And now I have a daughter-in-law named Drea. And I am an educator with DeKalb County, and I serve in the General Assembly. I don't know if you want us to really go into why we got into politics, but I just hold off on that. But that is a little bit about me. Well, I have one sister, one nephew. So that is my life story.
Awesome. I actually am from Pensacola, Florida, so you're right down the road from me. And lots of friends that went to FAMU. So I know you spent some time in Pensacola in your college days.
Well, I spent some time in Pensacola during my high school years playing basketball. And we used to come down there to play in the region, region games. And all I could think of was how tall those girls, those white girls, they were so tall. All our basketball team, we were like 5 feet 1, 5 feet 2. They were 6 feet. They had no one under 5'11" on their basketball teams. That's all I could think about Pensacola, girl.
Small world, huh?
Yes, Lord.
Well, thank you again for being here. And last but certainly not least, Mr. Terry Baskin, who is the tax commissioner for Clayton County, Georgia.
Well, I too have to echo what everybody has said. I'm truly honored to be invited to this program. And it's been a wonderful journey, I can tell you that. Originally from Detroit, Michigan. I moved here in the late 70s, which tells my age. And I married a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful woman, Dr. LaCynthia Baskin, and we've been married for 28 years, 29 as of in February. Amen.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Awesome. Yes,
we have
indeed.
one daughter, and I tell you, the life that I live with my wife and my daughter is great, and I can't tell you how much that they bring joy to my heart. Being that I'm the tax commissioner, there's only been 5 tax commissioner in Clayton County's history. I am number 5. And the beauty part of it, as I get sworn in December, I will serve my 5th term, which means that now I surpass all other tax commissioners in serving. So longevity is with me. So I have the history behind me now.
That's
Um,
awesome.
and I love what I do. I love serving. I love helping those who need help, particularly in their property tax situation, their homestead exemptions, disability, school exemptions, you name it. And it brings me joy to be sitting out there and helping folks, do what they need to do, or even collect taxes while they walk in. They discover, hey, aren't you the tax commissioner? Yes, I am. I
Mhm.
do it all because
Yes.
this is what I love doing. I
Mhm.
love working with others, such as Representative Scott and Chair Jesse Goree. I mean, because we have a lot in common. I've known them for a long time, see.
Mhm.
So it's just great to be here because a lot of times people don't invite the tax commissioner.
Mhm.
I call myself the Darth Vader of the county. Who wants to talk to the tax commission until the tax
Right.
bill comes? Now they want to talk to me. But it's just a great time to be in Clayton County. It's a great time to be here on earth altogether to see historically what 2020 has done. And by the way, I must include that I got my PhD in theology from
Mhm.
Restoration Theological Seminary, and I am associate pastor of Lakeland Christian Center, right there in Riverdale, Georgia, off of Church Street. So praise God, amen.
Yes, yes. Wonderful. I am just tickled when you said you and your wife will be celebrating, I think you said 29 years this coming
9 years.
February.
Yes, ma'am.
And so that's kind of how we became intimately knowing each other. Your wife and I served on the Clayton County Marriage and Family Initiative for
Yeah.
years, and so I'm a marriage champion, so that warmed my heart. So um, thank you guys for all that you do in this county. And so as we continue this conversation, I have a few questions for you all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd like to start with Chair Jesse Goree. What led you to a career in politics? You kind of mentioned a little bit of it um, earlier. Can you elaborate a little bit more on what was I know you said the Clayton County was about to lose their accreditation, and that kind of pushed you to run so that you could help regain that status back. Anything else you want to add to that?
Sure. Yes, actually, I had some aspiration to become a politician. Prior to that, actually, I had thought about moving back to Louisville
Mhm.
and maybe becoming a alderwoman, or I'm not. I think that's what they call them now in Louisville. I had thought about doing that, but I ended up staying in the Atlanta area. I moved here in 1977 when I graduated from the Ohio State University. And so, actually, over here in the city of Riverdale, we were looking at building the new, what is now the city hall, the 2 new buildings over here in the city of Riverdale. So, actually, I had planned on being the mayor of the city of Riverdale and being in those nice new buildings because I was a member of the Riverdale Downtown Authority.
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
had gone to Smyrna and we were planning, we had all these big plans for what we were going to do with these buildings because that is actually, we're really stagnated because that's all that ended up happening. We were planning on having a town center and having townhomes and all these great things. But then all of a sudden, we had the Sachs group that decided that they were going to come to Clayton and take away our accreditation. Now, Representative Scott said that she was put off of the board, but I'm going to come to her defense because Representative Scott, my intent after they did decide that they were coming after our accreditation, I decided, well, I'm an educator, so I'm going to run for the school board. I'm more qualified to help with this than I am to worry about the city of Riverdale, because I had made a promise to my son in his class of 2009 that they would have an accredited diploma. So I really wanted to be on the board with Representative Scott because she's a great person. And I felt like, we would have a great team. But I will say this about Clayton County, that Clayton County, if we could come together and be organized, we allowed people to come and do something to our board members that was unjust, because no one ever sat down and read the Sachs report. They just believed what the Sachs people said, that, it was something wrong with the Board of Education. And people like to bring that up. And I'm going to come to their defense every time, because these people were doing their job, and it was just a matter of politics got involved in that. They were overseeing things that were going on. So quite naturally, then we had the uproar. So they wanted to, people did not support the board members. I actually said to many people in the community that what we should do is file a lawsuit against Sachs, because had this happened in any other community, this would not have happened in Paulding County or one of the affluent counties, because those people would have gone to court and stopped anybody from coming in to remove something from children. It had nothing to do with children. And people do not understand that even with accreditation, all that basically is, you're paying money to have a title that says that you belong to an organization, because you don't have to have accreditation from any of these organizations. Our level of instruction, all of that was still high quality. So anyway, as I said, they did end up, they removed board members, I still say unjustly. And so when I came in, there were only about, I believe there were 3 board members. And then I joined. And so at first we didn't even have 9 members. And it took us a while to end up with the 9. So that's how, I came on. And so what ended up happening, they took our accreditation on March 14th of 2008 is when they voted to do it. They officially did it in September of that year, which is when school started. And I watched people drive to schools and just, withdraw their kids. I think we probably lost 6,000 students within a couple of weeks. And that was just when everything went under. The housing boom went under, all the things that we had planned for the city of Riverdale. We started having a lot of foreclosures, and then, Clayton just, we just spiraled down. But by the time May came of 2009, we had regained our accreditation, because I had to go in there and fight, make sure that the superintendent that we had in place, did their job, and we did regain our accreditation. So in 2009, our students did walk across the stage at the Georgia Dome with an accredited diploma. And we've not, looked back ever since. As a matter of fact, we are now an exemplary board that we've retained that status for the past 3 or 4 years. And, we're doing great things. We're, committed to high performance is our thing now. So we're doing great things.
Well, I thank you for your work and your leadership.
Right. And I'm gonna go back again to, as Representative Scott, and she mentioned it, but I'm gonna even give a plug for the school board members, because we are one of the most important elected officials. People, nobody wants to give us credit, because when you went to vote this time, you saw my name was probably all the way at the very bottom before one of the amendments. That's where they put us up. And people should value education more than that. It's a local election, but it is one of the most important, because if you don't have a good teacher, you won't aspire or end up being a great person, because you need an education one way or the other to be great.
That's right. Absolutely. Totally agree. State Representative Sandra Scott, how did you end up, I know she said you started out as a board member for Clayton County Public School, which led you over to the state representative house. So kind of share with us, was this something you've always wanted to do, to be a servant on this level, or did something trigger your first move or your desire with the school board and then on to the state house?
The way I got into politics was I was working on Wade Starr's campaign, and during that time, the school board was having it was a little uproar on the school board, and I was working with Commissioner Sona Gregory, and she decided to run for commissioner, and then so. Politics was never anything that I ever thought of that I wanted to do in life. Had no earthly idea or anything about politics. Like I said, I was just working with her for Wade Starr. And then I guess one night I looked like I had a dream. And so I woke up the next day and told my husband I was going to run for the school board. And so I did. I joined the school board, and like I say, from the minute I joined the school board, it looked like it was an uphill battle, but I enjoyed the time that I was on the school board because I am a person that I work hard and I love people and I love my people. And, I'm not apologetic. I'm not apologetic for loving my people because they are part of me. And so being an educator and joining the school board, I was on, I think it was 4 of us that were educators on the board. So we knew a lot of what was going on. It was a lot going on. And being in the military, my background was in purchasing and contracting. My husband was a contractor for the Army. And so my focus was definitely on purchasing. And there were just a lot of things that were not going right with the Clayton County purchasing and on the Clayton County School Board. So definitely questions. But to go on from there, once we were put off of the school board, District 76 seat came available, and someone just out of the blue called me and said, "Would you like to run for a state representative?" I was hesitant. I was like, no, because these people, they gone crazy. And I was like, no, they would say, well, you do it, you could do it. So I went on, I ran, got out there and worked hard. And a lot of people were upset, but the people the people that knew me. And so I was able to go into the seat, really, I think it was about 7 people in that race. We had a runoff, and I won that with no problem. So, and I've been in the state house ever since. One thing about being in the state house, I was a person that cared about people. And my whole thing, but once I got into the state house, that I was going to go down and I was going to be able to bring the information back to the people of what they need in order to help my people be able to move along, as well as create legislation and policy that will have an impact on the people that I serve. And, as a state representative, that is what our job is. The number one job we have is to make sure we pass a budget, but also is to create legislation that will have an impact on the people. And when I do my legislation, I get it from the people. It is because I'm involved in my community. I'm involved around the state of Georgia, and I'm involved in a lot of national organizations. So when we come together and have meetings, it's all about how can we help and how could we be of service to the people. And I try to bring that back to my community and bring it back to the state of Georgia. And so, not only do I serve and do things here in my district, I be all over the place because, like I say, I love people and I have no problem going out, giving my service to the people, because that's what it's about, the people. It's not about me. And, when I do things, I don't look, it's not about what Sandra wants, it's what is best for the people. And that is my motto. And that's what I stand by, making sure that I do what is right and what is just for the people that I serve. And that is what I live by, and that is what I try to do.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Whenever I hear servant leaders in positions such as yours understand the importance of the people that they serve, that makes my heart happy. So thank you for that. Tax Commissioner Baskin, would you also answer that same question? Kind of what led you into, I guess your position is just political, but kind of share with us, what led you down this journey as tax commissioner?
Well, I didn't have any aspirations of being in politics. Servanthood was one because I started out in Detroit as a police officer. 2 years later, they had laid off, and then Atlanta came and they called upon us, and we moved down here. Well, I moved down here and got on the police department for the city of Atlanta. 20 years later, I retired, and that's because the former chairman came to me and said, "Look, you have a background in law enforcement, and I need somebody to do a lot of research for me. So could you come on board the administration?" At that time, I guess I had the bug because I found out that I kind of enjoy being around people and doing the research and finding out what's going on in the community. And then I became more engaging because I became started getting involved in the Democratic Party, ended up being the chair of the Democratic Party back in 2002. Well, after that, I ran for a state Senate seat, the 34th district, and back then I was on the western portion of Clayton, and I lost that race. But it was well worth it because it taught me a lot about politics. It taught me a lot about campaigning, things of that nature, and the whole aspect of what I have to do to prepare myself for the next hurdle. After that, the former tax commissioner came to me and said, "Look, I would love for you to come to my office because this is my last term. And I want to just prepare you. If you decide to run for the office, so be it. If not, we'll move on from there." Well, like I said, I really love doing what I do. And, I got to a point where, okay, in 2004, I just decided, yes, this is what I want to do. Ran for the position and have been there ever since. Now, the greatest journey is basically learning how to help those who really need the help. There are a lot of people who are not understanding about homestead exemptions, school exemptions, disability exemptions, you name it, or even when it comes down to the motor vehicle side. What can they do for that as far as the exemptions on that? Veterans exemptions, things of that nature. And the teaching aspect really grew in me. And that's why when God led me into the ministry, that teaching spirit has just followed me throughout the term. And next thing you know, I look up, I was in my third term, and it just became a joy to go to work every day and see people who need assistance. And when they get it from the tax commissioner himself, it's amazing about their response. And they're like, "Wow, this guy, I thought I had to make an appointment." No, you don't. I'm there out in front, and my employees even like that. They like that camaraderie. So basically, that's what got me started into politics. That's what guided me, directed me, and held me steadfast to what I've been doing all along.
That's awesome. I know personally that you are a true example of a servant. When I come into that tax office, you will make time for those who need to see you. So I truly appreciate that.
Yes,
It is, yeah, it's very heartwarming to
Mhm.
see that no matter what you're doing, you will take the time to attend to others' needs. So
Yes.
thank you for that.
You're welcome.
I have some other questions, and I'm going to ask each of you all different ones. And I'm going to start out with Board Chair Goree with this particular question. Why is it so important to vote, not only in this presidential election, but in local elections? Unmute.
I'm sorry, I was trying to make sure there weren't no noise when they were speaking. But very interestingly, when I ran the first time, there were like about 36 people that ran for the 9 seats on the school board. And in my race, there were 5 of us. So I ended up in the runoff, and why it's important to vote, because people think that their vote doesn't count. I ended up in a runoff, and I won by 12 votes. And my challenger wanted a recount. And when they did the recount, it went down 1. So I won by 11 votes. I've had a couple of friends that have run for office, and they've lost elections by local elections by 2 or 3 votes. So number one is it's important. Candidates definitely appreciate every vote, but people don't realize that they, when you're voting for the presidential election, that's what's like right now. We're sitting waiting for this election to be over with. When we're looking, we already see with the popular vote that Vice President Biden has the popular vote. And you would think that the election would be over, but the presidential election is based on the Electoral College, which is based on each state and how many electoral votes that they have, which breaks down to your, you're looking at your congressional districts and all that type of stuff. But your local elections really have a direct effect upon your life. For example, if you want a great school district, then you need to be looking at the school board race. And I'm going to tell you, this year I hadn't had opposition in the past 2 elections, but this year I had opposition. Somebody decided that they were going to put a gangster rapper, as far as I'm concerned, in the race against me. And because we were in the Black Lives Matter movement, and everything that was going on across the country, I'm gonna say on one part it was a good thing, because all of a sudden a lot of young people actually saw what was happening in the country, and they decided to get involved. They started protesting, and they started looking at what is happening in the political scene. They're looking at police officers kill citizens, and see local elections such as who your sheriff is, who your commissioners are, that your commissioners are the ones that are going to appoint your police chief, and all those types of things. And then people realize, even when you end up in the court system, the judges, are you going to get a fair trial? So these are all the reasons why you need to be concerned about, who your district attorney is, what type of prosecution, because that when you look at our prisons, who's the majority, we're the ones that are in the prison system. And we look at how, even with when you're sentenced, how unjust it is, how someone will go to jail for twice as long as for crack, whereas someone with cocaine will go in because they have money. So it's very important that we look at our local races, things that are really going to affect you. But but I am going to say Clayton County right now, with them counting these votes, we have over, I believe, I thought we had about 220,000 registered voters, but maybe the number is a little bit, maybe it's maybe about 190,000. But Clayton County, I believe, only somewhere between 55 and 59% of our county voted. And if we, so we had maybe I've forgotten the numbers, but if we had a larger percentage, like right now, Georgia would probably be we would be blue. We wouldn't be sitting here waiting to see what the outcome, because these electoral votes for Georgia could have gone to Biden, and we would know who the president is right now, instead of us waiting for the vote. Those are all the reasons why you need to look at your local elections.
Absolutely. And as you said, vote up and down that ballot. I heard that so often. A lot of times people forget that not just the presidential nominees, but you have, as you said, those local positions that we need to attend to as well and do our homework and research and understand who is running and learn a little something about them. So you're right. They directly impact us.
Yeah, because for example, the person that ran against me had not voted, had no vote, had voted maybe one time, and even was old enough to vote when President Obama ran the first time. Had no history of a voting record. Wasn't even a member of the PTA at the child's school. But people will go and put people in elections, and which will have an effect. And if you're going to I like the fact that Commissioner Baskin mentioned the fact that he had worked with the previous tax commissioner, and that is also something that as politicians that we should be looking at some point when we're going to give these roles up. We really need to be preparing great people to come in and serve after us, and all of us are local officials. And Representative Scott she makes laws that directly affect us. So that is why people need to go out and vote. So do not complain if you haven't made your voice heard, and you make your voice heard by going casting your ballot.
Yeah,
absolutely. And just continuing in that direction, I have the next question for State Representative Scott. Why do you believe some people don't vote? And what do you think we need to do on a local level to fix that or encourage them to vote?
Well, I think a lot of people don't vote because they do not see progress in the community in which they live. They see the same thing over and over. They just don't see any movement. They don't really see the politics making a difference in the field. And they really don't see anything going on. It's the same thing over and over and over again. You don't see the needle of the haystack moving, so people just become complacent and say, why am I voting? They're not doing anything. I don't see them doing this, and I don't see this going on, and I don't see that. So people get complacent, and they feel like it's no need to vote when you're going to get the same thing, and you're going to see the same thing going on that's been going on.
So how do you suggest that we fix that?
Well, we got to fix it by one thing we got to do is communicate. Communication is the key to anything. It's the key to a happy home. It's the key to life. It's communication. And I know that we do have we do have town hall meetings where we try to get people involved and try to connect with the people. So this is one of those questions that we all are continuously to look for answers. But I know if this election here, I know people reached out, you got text messages, you got everything. If you had a cell phone, you got text messages about voting. If you had a cell phone, you got emails, and you have an email address, you got emails about voting. And so, this is the thing, right? This cell phone right here is the key to people. And so, and we know that people see this all the time. And we just still trying to figure out, how can we get people to vote? I don't really have the answer because I know we work hard on trying to get people out to vote. We register people, but what the good is registering people if they don't go out to vote? You have people knocking on your doors, and this time they had, we know COVID was here, but they just had so much going on to get people out to vote during this election. So that is a piece that we're constantly trying to work on, is how can we get people involved and motivated to come out to vote. a lot of times you know, lately with all the police brutality and all that, you see them out in the streets, they'll protest, but can we get those same people that's protesting to the polls to vote?
Right.
You
Right.
know, it's something that we just got to continue to try to figure it out, and we got to work with the young people. We got to get out there and get involved with the young people and hear from them and hear what they have to say, and try to encourage them to encourage their friends to come out and vote, because 2022 is right around the corner. It is upon us, and I would say that it was so many reasons that we needed to vote this time. It
Right.
just so many reasons here in the state of Georgia that we should have been voting, and which we did the first during early voting. People did come out, but on voting day, we could have done much better, because it's so many reasons. You know, when I think about the number of people that having problems with unemployment, they have not received their unemployment since March. And that's affecting over 200,000 Georgians. You know, I just wonder how many of them got out and voted, because, you know, the commissioner of labor, he's elected like I am for a state job. You know, he's elected by the people, and you know, right now we have a lot of people hurting because he's not doing his job of getting people their unemployment. And so it's just so many reasons that we need to look at voters. So we're still trying to find that answer. How can we get people to the polls to vote? So if it's anybody out here in this radio land, in this world, could come up with the answer and a solution to help us, to help people get out the vote, you know, we welcome that, because it is something that we are searching for all over America.
All right. I appreciate that. That's a good one.
I wanted to mention that I actually have the numbers here. We had 104,110 ballots cast out of 193,814 registered voters. That's 53.72%. That's not, you know, just thinking we could have had 50,000 more voters in Clayton alone that had cast their ballot. I think this election would be over.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. You know, at my church, New Vision Christian Church, I was very involved in getting our members enrolled to vote, registered to vote, and updating their voters registration card. And I think in every area, whether it's church or civic or what have you, you know, if we start now being a little more aggressive in our approach to get people registered, and as State Representative Scott said, the town hall meetings and having more conversations and getting those millennials involved, we may figure out what may be a solution, or maybe, you know, some type of solution to the issue of people not voting, getting them more involved in local activities and letting them see how the process will work if they get involved somehow. So yeah, that is not really good. Not even 55% of our citizens in Clayton County voted. We should have done better. Commissioner, yes, what do you feel is a pressing issue for the state or the country or our county, and why, as it relates to voting or this election or just in general?
You know, I'm going to piggyback on what Representative Scott was talking about, the answer. And I'm also going to steal a page from the Republican Party. Now, what you see here, and you got to scratch your heads and say, why was the Latino vote more for the Republican side than the Democratic side? And it's basically what they do. The one answer that I wanted to give to Representative Scott was education. Education. They grind that to a point where they're getting to those who are coming into this country. and then they go for the citizenship. Well, they're right there at that door when they're walking out, and they're passing out literature about the Republican Party. And they also know that they word conservative, and that rings in their ear. What we as Democrats are going to have to do is take the same page, the same game plan, and start educating everybody. This is why you vote. This is why years ago, when our parents, our grandparents were being killed and enslaved because they went to vote, but they didn't have that right, but you do. So people died for that reason. Then we need to help them understand what the core values of the Democratic Party is all about, helping them to see that they're more inclusive than the Republican Party. Okay. Number 3 is going grassroots. That is definitely knocking on doors, going to these grocery stores and helping them to see this is why, yes, you need to be engaged in local and state and then national politics. It helps them to see the difference where you're making one, and you need them to lead and guide them in the way that they need to go. And that is what Representative Scott said, communication. It's essential to help them to see that if they don't know anything about the Democratic Party, why should they vote? If they don't know anything about the candidate that's running on the Democratic ticket, why should they vote for them? So education is extremely important. Communication is very important. And going grassroots, just like the Republican Party does, that's very important, because we're going to have to learn the whole terminology all over again, because this year we found out something that nobody has ever heard of. And that's when these young kids were downtown and they were peaceful protests. We're not just talking about black kids, we're talking about white kids too, holding up Black Lives Matter. See, to them, they're registering, hey, you've been telling me a lie for so many years about black people. Now we need to help them and see this is why it's very important for you to be engaging. It's very important for you to be active, and very important for you to cast your vote. And number 2, what Chairwoman Goree was saying, what they missed the fine print. The fine print is basically, if you don't vote, how can you complain? That's the bottom line. So get involved. And I also love the idea of what Chairwoman Goree was saying, that you need to start grooming others for your position. Okay. You know, I take the prime example. I mean, I'm telling you, I love John Lewis. That was a great man. Okay. Broke my heart when he passed away, but you know what? He's in a better place. But when he passed away, his legacy went with him. And then the 5th district went in disarray because they didn't know, okay, who are we looking at? Now, true enough, we have somebody in there now that just was voted in. But that legacy starts all over again. See? So I agree with you, Chairwoman Goree. Great answer to a point that we do need to start grooming those, especially young people, helping them to see this is what's going on in our community, inviting them down to the office and seeing the outlay of what's going on, you know, showing them, you know, down at the Gold Dome, this is what we do down here. When you bring the educational aspect into play, it helps them get more engaged, and then they know this is why I need to vote.
And those are great points. When you talked about grassroots, I couldn't help but think about Clayton County Grassroots Leadership. And
Yes.
I was one of the founding members of that organization back in 2004 and served on that board for many years. And how a lot of our leaders in the county went through that program before they went over to the next level of I think the Chambers Leadership,
Yeah.
Clayton.
Leadership.
Getting involved on the local level helps them understand the dynamics of their community. I think that's a great place to start if anyone out there is interested in becoming a local community leader and going after local positions so they can meet people like you all and understand what's behind all of these positions, what it takes, etc., is really vitally important to the success of anybody's campaign. Also, my sister was the first Black city councilwoman in Pensacola, Florida, and she was an incumbent for about 11 years. And so she was one of those who went door to door during her campaign, knocking on doors and truly helping the citizens of the community. I think, when we get back to those grassroots or those fundamental things where people know that you care, they hear that you care, but they want to see that you care. I think all of those are very important as we strive to improve our communities. And I know we're running short of time. And before we prepare to end this show, I want you guys to share some parting words with the audience on any level of what you actually do. If there's something that you want to share with them, some resources, some information, and I'd like to start with board chair, Jessie Goree. Anything that you'd like to share with the audience as we prepare to close out.
Well, right now, the most important thing for me now is being the chair of the Clayton County Board of Education. Is we are trying to complete this semester of this virtual learning. This has been quite an experience for us. I would say for the people that are watching, I hope we have some parents that are watching. As a board member, I get a lot of complaints about things that that are going on. I just wish that everyone could just bear with us now and understand that we're in the position that we're in because of a pandemic. No one, when I became a board member, did I ever think we would end up in a situation like this. I thought loss of accreditation was something, but this pandemic has been amazing, because I could just go back to and say maybe our voter turnout was low because of that. I mean, normally we had 1,300 students that could have voted, but we were only able to register about 700 of them. I don't know how many. We normally take our students to vote on buses, but because nobody's in schools, we couldn't do it. So I would say to you, as far as the school district is concerned, please go to our website. We have so much information for parents that are now becoming the first teacher, working with your children at home, all types of tools for you to help with your students in learning. One of the things right now that Clayton County, we normally would probably serve about at least 40,000 students a day lunch. We have a grant that where no one pays for lunch. And we actually sent out a press release today. We really want to help our community. If you have any children that, even though if they're Clayton County students and maybe they have some siblings that are not, if they are up to the age of 18, we want to feed everybody, because we actually get reimbursement from the government for everybody that we feed. So we want to feed our families. We want to make sure that that they're striving, because they're not in the building. And I worry about the fact that some of our kids, those are their only meals for the day. But mainly just go to our website, and all I can say, let's continue to pray. Let's continue to be involved in your children's lives. Be more compassionate. Wear your mask. And let's see if we can't defeat this pandemic, and let's get somebody in office that can lead us in the right way to bring us together, because I think that God actually had a message for us with all of this, for us to be still and start caring about each other more. And that's pretty much it for me. And my information is listed. So if you have any questions, please feel free to email me or give me a phone call.
And I want to thank you, Chairman Goree, for just all that you do as a leader for the Clayton County Public School System. And I want to give a shout out to K-Pace Academy, because when you get those complaints, I want to make sure that there's some schools that are rocking and rolling and doing their thing. So I'm firsthand seeing it from the beginning to now. So I want to make sure you know that as well. And Dr. Jackson and her team, I think, are doing an amazing job,
Thank you.
as well as all the other leaders of the school system. So thank you. And State Representative Sandra Scott, any parting words you'd like to share? Unmute yourself.
Sorry. I would just like to say to the listening audience to just be patient, continue to be steadfast. And I would like to say we will be going into session in January. We will get there. We need for the people to get involved in the process. When we introduce legislations, we have hearings on bills. We need for people to get involved. We need for people to come down to the Capitol and testify when we have this bad legislation that they be putting forth. We need for people to come down and testify as to whether you will like some legislation or whether you don't. And a lot of times, we put it out. We put it out on Facebook. We put it out on our House Democratic Caucus website. We send it out in emails and texts. We just need for the people to get involved. And what we need for people to do is hold your elected officials accountable. We need to be held accountable for what we do. And that is what the people need to start holding the elected officials accountable. But we also need for people to get involved in the process. It's good to vote for people, but then you got to make sure that the people are doing the things that you think they should be doing. But then we need, again, for you to get involved. Come down to the Capitol. That is your Capitol. Come down to the Capitol. And when you have issues or concerns, do not hesitate to contact your elected officials. That's why we're here. You put us here, and you need to make sure, again, that that's what I need for people to do, is hold elected officials accountable. You have your city council, you have your mayors, you have your county commissioners, you have your school board members, you have your chairmen, the chairmen of the county, you have your sheriff, you have your judges, you have your tax commissioner, you have all these elected officials. And it's high time that people start holding people accountable for the work that they do. And I said that humbly. And if you need me, I am available. You have my information. I really do answer my phone. I do return phone calls. And I try to be visible for the people, because that is why I'm here. I'm here for the people, to serve the people. And so with that in mind, I will say to the people, please wear your mask when you go outside. Make sure you still continue to practice social distancing. And when you get home, wash your hands for 20 seconds. And you all be blessed, and just continue to love on your family and continue to just be you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Tax Commissioner Baskin, we have less than 2 minutes, and I know that you can do this in that time frame.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. I mean, because I know we didn't come across any questions pertaining to homestead exemptions or anything like that. So I offer my service. If you want to call me back for another showing, so be it.
Yes.
But I do want to say to those who are, listening and viewing this program, be safe, be understanding, be patient, because I'm quite sure this is not over. But the greatest thing that we've learned is that how we deal with the impossible. Okay. Mm-hmm. So if there's anything that I can do as tax commissioner, you have my information. You can go to my website. All you have to do is type in Clayton County Tax Commissioner. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, you name it. Contact me. We'll get back with you, or even give me a call. Okay. So thank you once again, Ms. Conley. I appreciate you inviting me.
Yes, I'm so grateful to have had you all here tonight to kind of talk about this election 2020, and that you all are incumbents and servant leaders. And so thank you for all that you do in this county and this world as we move forward with this election. Again, I pray for your platforms, that they are blessed going in and coming out. And so thank you again. And thank you all, the audience, for all that you do to encourage me to keep moving. As well as Representative Sandra Scott would like for you all to know that her Facebook page is Sandra Givens. Facebook page is Sandra Givens. And also someone commented and said that getting the students involved is very important, and they gave you guys a round of applause. And someone mentioned hiring more teachers for Clayton County. They were a parent, so just a few comments, but overall, great feedback from the audience in the chat. So thank you all for being here with us this evening, and thank you all for watching. And you all have a wonderful evening. Stay blessed and encouraged.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Night. Thank you.
Night.
Good night.
All right.
Good night,